My video for July the 29th, 2018, which is video number 2801, is entitled Fear is the Root of Bondage and Mother of All Crime. As I've indicated in many of my videos, I was raised with the Holy Bible being the most important book in the world. It was considered to be God's Word. From the time I learned to read, I was reading the Bible every day. A practice continued well into adulthood. I was taught that the fear of God was the beginning of wisdom. What a horrific lie. The fear of some unknown and invisible God is the foundation of mind control, not wisdom. Yet that fear has penetrated every aspect of human life and culture for millennia. Have you ever heard the expression, frozen in his tracks? Yes, fear stops us in our tracks. I am almost convinced that it is fear that has prevented us from becoming the best we could be, and also allowed others we perceive as more powerful or having greater authority to dominate us. I've seen videos of people who have overcome the fear quotient and performed amazing feats and even tamed wild animals. If humanity could overcome our fear, could we also change our reality? I think we could, but it has to occur in a non-violent manner if it is to be effective. We also need the help of beings powerful enough to stand against the wiles of the enemy, which is fear itself. I absolutely am convinced that human enslavement begins with fear, not love. Love liberates us from fear. The problem is, of course, we've been so indoctrinated with fear and impregnated with the fear quotient, if you will, that loving becomes almost impossible. We fear everything that is not perceived as part of us. And we don't consider ourselves as part of a whole. We consider ourselves as isolated and restricted in our abilities and not able to accomplish what we'd really like in the world, at least not most of us. That's the general human experience. And all you have to do is observe human society, and you can see that the majority of the human race is told what to do, not making free choices, doing what they feel is required for survival itself. Fear's roots penetrate the soul and create that idea of lack, that we are not enough. And as long as we believe we are not enough, we are going to be easily enslaved. And that is exactly what has happened throughout human history. And to me, any honest observer who stands back and looks at it with some level of objectivity will see that that's the case. I mean, can we not determine that if we could overcome fear and actually love one another, that we could build a cooperative venture that would make the world better for everybody? I mean, to me, that's an obvious truth. But it's also obvious that that's not the way the world is. Some have suggested that the world is actually hell. This is the purgatory, if you will, if not hell, purgatory, where we work out our salvation and become liberated from the bondage of fear. That's the bondage, folks. Love is the liberation. Fear is the bondage. Fear is the entrapment. And there are still people pushing the idea that the Holy Bible is God's word and needs to be honored in every jot and tittle, and it's a perfect book. That's not true. I know I was taught that. I believed it. I probably taught it myself more than once in many of my early sermons when I was in my teens and 20s and even my 30s. I was still pushing forth that idea. And up until even my 50s and early 60s, I was probably still somewhat under the mistaken idea that the Bible contained words of truth, and it does. It does. I don't want to say that it doesn't contain words of truth, but it's truth mixed with lies. And when lies get mixed in with truth, it creates a false reality. And some have suggested that even our three-dimensional world is a false creation. It's a false reality, that it's not real. I listened to a video of some lady proposing the idea that there are no stars, there are no planets, that's all just an illusion, that the whole physical world that we perceive with our eyes and what we've been taught about in our school, that's all a lie. Well, it's a very persistent lie, and I still believe that the physical world is real and that my experience can never be fake. It is how I react to it is determined by how I perceive it to be, but it's still real experience. Experience is never an illusion. It's always real. Even if we are the victim or the victimizer of circumstances, nevertheless, it's real to us. It's a real experience, and experience trumps all of the other mental gymnastics that we go through trying to create an excuse for religion. There is no excuse for religion. Remember, folks, religion binds. Spirituality, and I watched another video where somebody was claiming that spirituality is a hoax also. Well, perhaps some spirituality, or some that claim to be spiritual and teach spiritual things, maybe some of that is also mixed with a lot of lies and creates a lot of subterfuge and a disaster, because it doesn't lead us to becoming free. It doesn't lead us to be able to love one another and to become the very best we could be. The first step in becoming the best we can be is to go over that hurdle of fear and to make peace with the wild beasts that we have become. We have become the wild beasts. I'm not talking about the lions or the tigers or the creatures in the jungle or the forest or wherever. I'm talking about the beasts that are inside of each of us, that are driven by the fear of lack, the fear of not having enough, of not being enough, of being insufficient to meet the challenges of life. I'd like to be empowered. Quite honestly, getting there is a real challenge, and the world does not make it easy to overcome that challenge. In fact, the world makes it virtually impossible, which is why I said we need the help of beings powerful enough to stand against the wiles of the enemy. And that powerful enough beings has to be us, but we have to be shown the way, because the demonstrations that we've seen throughout our lives tell us the exact opposite. We have to see how to overcome that enemy of fear, how to overcome the bondage and the enslavement that has been created by fearful thoughts and a fearful perception of reality. We have to be liberated from that, and I'm hoping with all of my heart, and again, I use the word hope because I don't know, I'm hoping that it is true, that there is an awakening occurring and that we are finally getting it, that it is up to us, and it is up to us to invite the empowerment. It doesn't come automatically. We have to ask for it and continue to ask until we actually receive it. Now, some say if you continue to ask, it shows that you didn't believe you received it the first time. That's true. And until you can demonstrate it, you haven't received it. Only that which you can put into action is real, not a belief. Belief, again, has lie in it. It's not enough to believe. You have to actually experience, because experience is the truth. Experience is our teacher. Will experience lead us to freedom? I certainly hope so. Thank you, folks, for listening, and namaste.